AFP Javier Soriano Franco is currently buried at the Valley of Fallen, which also holds the remains of 37,000 dead from both sides of the Civil War. Spain's Supreme Court on Tuesday gave the green light for the government to remove the remains of Francisco Franco from a grandiose state mausoleum, rejecting an appeal against it by the late dictator's descendants. In a unanimous ruling, the court decided to completely reject the appeal lodged by the family in relation to Francisco Franco's exhumation, the judges wrote. Franco, who ruled with an iron fist following the end of the 1936–39 Civil War, is buried in an imposing basilica carved into a mountain in the Valley of the Fallen, 50 kilometers (30 miles) outside Madrid. But plans to move his remains to another site has divided opinion in Spain, which is still conflicted over the dictatorship that ended with Franco's death in 1975. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez's government has made transferring his remains a priority, saying Spain should not continue to glorify the dictator, whose hillside mausoleum is topped by a 150-meter (500 feet) cross and has attracted both tourists and right-wing sympathizers. The government had planned to move Franco's remains to a more discreet family tomb on June 10, but the court suspended the exhumation pending the outcome of an appeal by Franco's heirs. 6 magistrates from the country's top court began meeting around 10 a.m. 0800 GMT, issuing their ruling some 90 minutes later. AFP Javier Soriano. The site has drawn the attention of both tourists and right-wing sympathizers who have rallied there. Tuesday's hearing was one of 4 appeals against the plan, but arguably the one that carries the most weight, with a court spokesman saying it was foreseeable that the judges would issue a similar verdict in the remaining 3 cases. It was not immediately clear when the court would rule on the other 3 appeals. Inexplicable. Earlier, Deputy Prime Minister Carmen Calvo had described as inexplicable the fact that the dictator's remains continue to rest in a public mausoleum. There is not a single other European dictator whose remains are kept in conditions like Franco in Spain, she said. Democracy is not compatible with holding Franco in a mausoleum like this. Many on the left are repulsed by the huge memorial at the Valley of the Fallen, comparing it to a monument glorifying Hitler. The site was built by Franco's regime between 1941 and 1959, in part by the forced labor of some 20,000 political prisoners, and the monument holds the remains of more than 33,000 dead from both sides of the Civil War. AFP Vincent Lefai Valdelos Queiroz. But descendants of the former ruler had vowed to fight for his remains to stay at the Valley of the Fallen. "We will continue our legal battle to the end so Franco stays there," said Juan Chichero Ortega, spokesman for the Francisco Franco Foundation, which defends his memory and has filed one of the remaining 3 appeals. The government wants Franco's remains to be reburied next to his wife in the family tomb at Mingo El Pardo, a state cemetery some 20 kilometers (12 miles) north of Madrid, where various political figures are buried. But the family have said that if the exhumation were to go ahead, they would want Franco to be moved to the Almudena Cathedral in Madrid, where his daughter is buried. The government has opposed such an idea for fear such a central location could become a pilgrimage site for Franco supporters, and has successfully lobbied the Vatican to reject this option. The court ruling comes as Spain gears up for its 4th election in as many years on November 10, with Sanchez's socialist government saying it wanted to ensure Franco's remains were moved before the vote. Let's block ads. Why?